This is RF. You're listening to Country Lunch on WOOL 91.5 FM from Bellows Falls, Vermont. And I'm here with Paleo Mountain Man and Budcat 7. And guys, where do we leave off?
We left off with agriculture.
Agriculture. You still there,
The
Budcat?
terra preta. We're
Terra
talking
preta.
about the terra preta, this engineered
Soil. And the mounds are engineered soil. I guess I found pestles that had gravel on them. They were crunching up quartz. They were crunching up different types of gravels, and you can find it on the pestles. When you find the pestles, some of them have it stuck to it, and they were making paste with these quartz, crushed up quartz in it, things like that. This is stuff you'd never find a lot of, and I'm lucky I found a little bit of it. And it just shows they were doing things that we have no idea what they were doing. And who knows what they were doing with it, crushed up quartz and white paste. And
You know what, Jimmy? I found evidence in my research of them using it for decorations. I recall some burial from the Southwest where they dug up a rather large skeletal remains, and the shield was covered with powdered minerals of different colors that were more or less set in this shield by some sort of adhesive process
that's very
or
cool.
whatever. But
wow,
they were using some of the crushed up stone to decorate their accessories there, and their weapons and their shields, et cetera, et cetera. So that may have been, these people obviously use stone for so many different things, and creating some art is one of those things, apparently, judging by that particular archaeology that was done.
some of the artwork, the stones that have artwork on them, I look at them closer and I'll find that, say, there's a piece of stone that'll fit in your hand, and it's a perfect fit. Let's say it's geometrically feels good, it's balanced, and it's a piece of quartz. And through the quartz, there's a hard piece of quartz or a core going right through it from the bottom to the top. And at the top, right where it's coming out, you'll find a little tiny window quartz, a petroglyph of like a sunshine petroglyph.
Right.
I find that a lot, and it looks like it's always in the same spot, at the top of where there's a quartz root going through the stone. The stones have images which give them a certain power, I guess. But there's things that make me feel like there's a science to it also. It wasn't just aesthetic, because you find them in the same spots in the same places, and you have to look really well, and you have to spend a lot of time looking at them. And they look like devices, and maybe you hold them and they benefited you, and maybe you did things like that with them. You didn't use everything to bang everything against each other. They weren't all that type of tool. Some tools were for healing stones, or for telling the future, or for whatever. And that's what we use crystals for today. A lot of people do. And you were talking about the New Age crystal movement. That's been going on a long time. And the ancient Egyptians had their crystals. And what was that Viking stone, the white stone, the navigation stone, the sunstone, I think it was called?
Sunstone, yeah.
Yeah, things like that. And who knows what they were doing, but they seem like devices to me. And if they can...
Just goes to show you the power of stone. And I think the Queen of England, on the throne there, they have a stone from some ancient archaeological site. But it just goes to show you the power of stone.
Mm-hmm.
And quartz, certainly, we know, today about the energy capacity of crystal, especially quartz crystal, but it's amazing that these people knew about it, 10,000 years ago. So as you say, it's not only it's not only an effigy that they carve, but some sort of device, some healing device, or it was picked for its healing qualities,
Exactly.
its energy qualities, and you can see that reflected in the walls, the way they built the walls, and the way that they inserted in strategic locations these quartz objects, often effigies, placed in the wall. It makes you think, well, why didn't they build the stone walls, out of 100% white quartz? They had it there. They could quarry it if they wanted to, but that's not the message that they were trying to send. And I was just looking over all the video footage that I shot while I was up there in Vermont, and I'm looking at some of these art wall areas, as we like to call them. Jimmy and I like to call them these art wall areas in the walls. As I say, just to remind everybody, you'll be walking along the wall, and it doesn't seem, too elaborate or anything like that. There's no sort of complexity in design, just simply a wall built with rather large stones with an uneven top, by the way, made with irregular shaped stones. And then you'll come up to this area that looks much more complex, made with a lot of field stone and not so much this large stone. And there's a lot going on there. And I'm looking right now, and unfortunately people in the radio audience can't see it, but I'm looking right now at a section of the wall we found on Mount Ephraim, where it was one of these sections where you have one of these art walls. And I'm looking at, 3 vertical flat stones in the wall with another flat stone above it, creating and sort of an empty space next to it with a couple of oval type stones in it. And I can't help but think that every time that this occurs, you have the vertical stones, you have the horizontal stones there placed in certain positions, and then you have the empty space right next to it, sort of forming what I believe to be a word of some sort, similar to that, what we would find with the Mayan codices type writing that you find down there in Central America and Mesoamerica of the past. So it's just, and again, with these walls also on Mount Ephraim, I'm looking at this wall, there's almost no quartz in this wall. So it's only certain areas, maybe perhaps the administrative, spiritual areas, that have a lot of quartz in the walls and a lot of quartz in the area, whereas in other areas that wasn't done for whatever reasons. And it's just so interesting when I go back and review the video footage that we shot here in these art wall areas, these groupings of small stone. As I said, the rest of the wall, Jimmy, you know as well as I do, the rest of the wall is made with this rather large, irregular stone. And then you come up to this sort of mosaic area there, and there's a lot more field stone used in these areas than elsewhere in the wall. It's just,
it was definitely
it
planned
seems clear
out.
as day to me that these sections of the wall that we call art wall are trying to convey some sort of message.
Some of the sections can be as small as 6 or 8 feet wide between two large outcroppings or 2 large boulders that were placed on the bottom. And in between that sandwich would be a 6 or 8 foot glyph. And some glyphs stretch together to make like a 30-foot or 40-foot larger glyph that holds several glyphs in it. And I see examples of that. And that tells a story to me.
Up by you.
Yeah, it's extremely exciting to see that, because you can see they took that whole section of wall to tell a story, and they arranged it so that it did tell that story, and it's still standing, hasn't fallen down. It's built so well. There's chambers in it that you can stick your arm in, and your arm will disappear inside the chambers. Things like that.
It's sort of a negative space. I mean,
they're hollow. They're acoustic.
Wall,
they ring.
And you
they sing. It's something we wouldn't do today. There's a reason they did it. We wouldn't do that. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Why would you spend all that time doing it? It like polygonal walls. They did that specifically, I think, to hold them up. So there's more surface area holding the walls up, and if an earthquake shook it, maybe it would hold together better. There's different techniques you do, and the way you make an acoustic wall is you put every stone puts weight on the other stone below it, puts weight on the other stone below it and next to it. And you put them, each stone you have to put in the exact right spot.
And then you have the negative space
so it
in
doesn't
there. You
fall
have
down.
the hollow space in there.
Lots of
the
it.
hollow space would project that acoustic
And
property.
that's where you
of
find
the wall.
quartz inside those hollow spaces. And
Often
under
put in
pressure
there,
from
small
stones
quartz.
above it, they put quartz under pressure a lot. And I'll see it inside the wall, and I'll put my hand in it, and I'll touch the stone, and it doesn't move. It's under pressure, but it's in the center of the wall, inside a chamber, right in the center of the wall. If you looked at a cross section from above, it's probably 2.5 feet to 3 feet wide, or 3 feet wide, let's say, at the top. And if you put your ruler halfway across and you look down inside the wall in the chamber, that's where the quartz would be, in the center of the wall, along the length of the wall also. And there's also other pieces of quartz in the wall, but there's smaller pieces of different colored quartz, like orange quartz in certain spots, white quartz in certain spots.
You can find out more information by going to Paleo Mountain Man or Stonewall Research Podcast 7 on YouTube.